Okay, so welcome back, guys. You're now locked into the Sound of Accra. As you already know, this is the show we chat with colourful creatives and entrepreneurs from a Ghanaian background, all with a special interest in the city, bringing you one step closer to Accra. I've got Jesse back for season 2. How's it going, man?
How's it going, man? I'm good, man. I'm good.
Excellent. Yeah, so we got Jesse back. He's back for an uncle, guys. Just a quick recap. Jesse is a digital creator. He's the founder of new Motive World of Creation. Is it creation or creative? Creativity.
Creativity. World of creativity.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That bit always gets me.
Nah, it's cool,
that bit
it's
always
cool.
gets me. And then he's also the founder and the host of the Definition podcast.
Yep.
So we're going to get into that just a minute. I mean, we're going to talk about the recent podcast series you've been doing on there. New Motive mainly focuses on logo design and branding, and the Definition podcast was created because he's always having debates and conversations on controversial topics. So we're going to plug everything in the show notes. You already know thesoundofaccra.com for all of the show notes and all the links from today's show. So and also, of course, he's Ghanaian, born and bred South London, and he's also a plant-based dietitian, and he hopes to move to Ghana within the next decade. Yeah.
Yep.
Perfect. So I think I've got all of that correct, and we're gonna get into the show. So, Jesse, just so how's it going? So I think we did the podcast on season 1 on Sound of Accra, and I also came on your podcast.
Yep.
Thanks again for inviting me. I actually did a
Instagram live, innit?
I did an Instagram live with Jesse. I think during lockdown. I just saw the YouTube video today. Actually, I just kind of searched it just to see if it was there. It was there. I was thinking maybe it might just be an Instagram, and I could see my beard was just going crazy. But yeah, that was a good session. And Jesse was on my podcast as well, so you can learn more about his plant-based diet journey, and he knows a lot about Black history and Ghanaian history, so check him out. He's a quite knowledgeable guy. But today, I think we're going to focus more on the Definition podcast, and then we're going to talk about the podcast industry as a whole. There's so much going on. So much has happened,
so much,
right?
Boy. So much. Trust me. So much going on, man. And I think now we're at a stage where, you know what, it's good. It's good for us because obviously we're foundational at the moment, and we're growing. Yeah. And we're probably going to get into it, but as we're seeing the Joe Budden and the Joe Rogans, all these Joes that are just, in these deals, and, Spotify right now is killing it. Spotify right now is just...
They're killing it, man.
Oh
my gosh. Like, Spotify killing it.
Trust, man. So, but yeah, we'll probably get into that when you're ready, man.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. Spotify are killing it. We're going to get into... so we're also going to talk about the state of the podcast industry, the rise of video podcasting, Apple versus Spotify, original content, and if podcasting is the new Netflix, essentially. Is it the new Netflix? Is it the new YouTube? I mean, lots of big money deals going on. So we're going to get into all of that. Jesse, just give a brief reintroduction to yourself, actually. Actually, we've done that. So we're going to go straight into what you've been up to during the summer.
Summertime, boy. I've been doing a lot of work, man. A lot of work. Obviously, because of the pandemic, which still hasn't ended. There was a lot of there was like a rush. I was seeing a surge of online content because again, everyone's at home. So you had the versus battles on Instagram, which I'll be honest with you guys, I haven't watched not one, because not that I'm not really interested in the sense, but I think what it is with me is I was in the mode of I need to start creating more now. So, we did a lot of Instagram lives as well.
Yeah, that was a good period.
I did, trust. I was watching the work rate from one of my friends called Kwame, who runs a page called At Taylor Different.
Okay, because shout out to Kwame. He was on season 1 as well, and I'll probably try and get him back in. And that's the beauty of getting on people's content or being part of people's journeys early on, because when they blow up, they'll tend not to forget you. Yeah, because I think his Instagram page is blowing up now since we first did that podcast with him. And he's doing a great job, and I'm sure I'll get him back in at some time.
That's the thing. And I was watching that, and I even spoke to him, and I just said, for real, you know what? While man's at home and while everyone else is at home, we should be, just shooting. So I did the Definition podcast a while ago. Yeah. And I had some stuff that was going on, so I paused it. But it started off mainly you know, just from me doing stuff with creatives and whatnot, and then just giving out advice and doing tutorials and whatnot. But again, we'll get into that probably later on, but throughout the summertime, I was just thinking, before summertime, I was actually planning for summer. So I was like, you know what, let me get this content ready. So when summertime does come and people have more time and whatnot, they can tune in. So this summer now, my brother started a project, another podcast called Convo Nation. So shout out Convo Nation.
Shout out to Convo Nation. We'll
and
link that in the descriptions.
That basically, that's doing quite well at the moment right now. So I'm involved in that. I'm also been filming some episodes on Zoom, obviously with the Definition Podcast. And the logo and branding starting to pick up more now because again, there was a decline in that industry because no one knew where to spend their money or how to spend their money.
True.
So summertime for me has been really more just creating, bro. I'll be honest. I've been out there 1 or 2 times with the sun, but you know, if it's not spending time with family, like my son and stuff like that, who I've had with me, you know, throughout the whole entire lockdown, because again, he wasn't at nursery and whatnot. And but this summertime's just been work. 2020 for me has just been, I've said, you know what, I'm not going to do any like holidays or any, even if they open up the borders, which they did, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to focus on branding, building the podcast, work, and you know the ones there, fam. That's it.
That's it. Just put in the work. And I mean, the borders are opening in Ghana now as we speak. And shout out to Quabs, who I'm trying to get on my podcast. Actually, he's agreed to come on my podcast.
Yeah, he's out there.
Yeah, he's out there now. So he's killing it in land and real estate. So shout out to Quabs. I'll put Asachi in the description below as well in the show notes. So I mean, it's been a good summer for you, I think, all around. Yeah. So far, I mean, to be honest, I've tried to tune out of the news now of this whole COVID stuff and whatnot. I don't even care. It gets repetitive now, isn't it?
It
gets repetitive.
Too repetitive. So I'm just focusing, like I said, on creating and building.
That's it.
And man, that's it. That's it really.
Man. 100%. I'm definitely with you. And and obviously the Definition Podcast has been some of the outcomes of your summer as well. Talk us through the idea behind your podcast. Like, why do you call it the Definition Podcast? And then we're gonna get into the how it served our series, because I've been following that. It's been quite interesting. And then these little Instagram lives with people.
The reason why I'm laughing is because you know what, one of my friends was saying to me, he's like, bro, like, instead of you always debating and, you know, having a strong opinion in people's, like, you know, inside a restaurant or in, you know, one of your friends' houses or whatnot, why don't you just like put this into your podcast? So I was just thinking,
that's a good point.
For real. Like, I was just like, for real, because again, see, the thing is, the reason why I called it the Definition Podcast was because I was laughing because of that conversation we had. It was so funny, and I always find, like, for myself, whenever I'm having these discussions and that, I'm always trying to find meaning. So in general, in anything. So for example, we might, like, there was one time we was talking about what was it again? I can't ever remember. I think it was something stupid about, you know, why do tigers have stripes? Something crazy like that. And I just said to him, well, every tiger is different. Every tiger has different stripes. And he was like, no, they're not. Every tiger's the same. And I was like, no, it's not. So we were going on Google, going back and forth and whatnot.
That's
and
hilarious.
Literally, he was just saying, you know, to me, bro, like, we're always consistently having these debates with everyone and anyone. So, and I like to find out, I like to learn, you know, ones there. I like to learn. I like to read as well. I've got back into reading again. And so I felt, you know what, if I was to create a platform where we can have them tough conversations, because obviously there's conversations and then there's tough ones. So we'll get into the hows that served our series in a minute. But basically, I was thinking to myself, the podcast was there prior. Like I said before, I was doing like stuff on graphic design, stuff on logo design as well, and but then I realized that it always led to something deeper than that. And I'm always that person that's always going to go deep. So it was, even when we did logo design, I did an episode which is on YouTube, on our new Motive page. And basically it was called Subliminals in Branding. So Subliminals in Branding Design. And then we spoke about Nike. And basically I was trying to explain to people, when people are creating brands and logos, especially the big brands, a lot of them have meanings behind it. So a lot of people didn't realize with LG, the LG logo is actually a face. The G, if you look at the G, is actually a face with a smiley.
It looks like that. Actually.
Right, it looks like that. So and even with like Nike, basically, people just thought it was a tick and that was it. But essentially, they went deep into their understanding of what they wanted. So they wanted to create something in the terms of winning or victory.
Okay.
And so they got the Greek goddess of victory,
Okay.
clipped the back of her wing, which is basically upside down, took that and then made that into a tick.
Wow. Okay.
Creative, innit? Yeah. So as I spoke about that, I remember posting it up and then someone commented on Instagram saying, there's subliminal messages in music and a lot of this is Freemasonry, and they started going into some next kind of stuff. I was just like, here we go again. And then, but anyway, so I kind of always realized I'm always going to go there. So again, with that, I said, look, what I'm going to do is channel it now into a discussion, which is basically, helping people to think, mainly helping people to think. And that's where the How Has It Served Us come. Because during that time, sadly, the passing of, the murder of George Floyd happened. And then it strung off a whole string of events.
Conversations.
Black Lives Matter was back in the scene again. I did a podcast episode on that versus the movement, because there's a difference with the organization versus the actual movement itself.
Yeah, that was episode 1, right? I remember
that. No, that was episode 30. I think 31.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, as in, out of the series.
Oh, yeah.
Podcast.
But part 1. Yeah. Part 1 of How Has It Served Us series. So basically, that was part 1, and we spoke about that, and then obviously from then, even with the How Has It Served Us series, that was created because everybody kept asking for solutions. Everyone's like, what's the solutions to black problems? What's the solutions? And I just said to myself, you know what? Are we even ready for the solutions? Because there's so much other small, petty things that we discuss or get in the way when we're coming to work together. So I'm like, we're not going to just talk about solutions and just say, we need to build black economics. If someone has a problem with a black guy having a white wife, you know what I'm saying, or another black guy being gay, and it's like, I can't work with him. So I thought, I'm going to have those tough conversations. Yeah. And I'm going to try and find meaning from those tough conversations so that when we do come to the solutions, there's no barriers. Do you see where I'm coming from? Like, so that's how the How Has It Served Us service. So the series started. So I've got like 2 more episodes of that coming out. I'm not going to tell you what they are, but they're going to be peak. You're going to see some of them. Right now, we've got one that's currently out, which is basically, I think it's called How Do I Identify When the World Sees Me as Black? Yeah. And, we'll probably get into that. But basically, that's kind of how the Definition podcast started.
Nice, man. And I think I want to land in the latest version of how it served us. And I think, is it Tory Kiggs?
Tory Kiggs, Vicky,
Vicky, shout out to Tory Kiggs. I think she basically... I think she mentioned some good points. So I think there was one point where, when us black women, when we go to an interview, like that's when we're gonna throw in a wig or weave, just because we want to look like a white person, or
right?
Anything. Just because obviously we want to come across white. Yeah, and I can relate to that, because I think for me, some people used to kind of laugh at me and say, "Okay, Adrian, like your Ghanaian, but your name is Adrian Daniels. Like it's such a kind of English kind of name, but then all your Ghanaian names are hidden in the middle. So when you apply for a job and they see your CV, they're not really going to see it. They're going to think you're white or something. You understand? So I can kind of understand what they mean by going there, and I think it's quite interesting as well, because I don't know if it's the same episode or the one before where I don't know if it's Tony or Tori or yourself or someone else, where they're talking about how white people, they want to be like black people. They want to they get all these they get all this tan.
Oh, and the blackfishing.
That's the
blackfishing.
I think that was episode 5 or something. Yeah. And then they want to change their hair to look like get locks.
You see, with that's funny. Yeah, just to touch on that quickly, because for me, I didn't know nothing about blackfishing. So when I was seeing people on TV, like for example Rachel Dolezal, the woman that was in America who identifies as black, but was blatantly a white woman. She was the head of the NAACP, I think it was. Okay. And basically...
What's the NAACP, for those that don't know?
It's basically... I can't remember the actual full acronym for it, but it's basically like one of the groups that help, black African Americans and stuff for their civil rights and whatnot over in America. So basically, she was head of that. Okay. And when you look at her at first glance, you probably think, okay, cool, America's got the one drop rule, so they include biracial people as black people. Yeah. But then... when you watch her documentary on Netflix, which is called The Rachel Divide, it's like you're sitting there and you're thinking, this is a white woman. Like, literally, this is but her story is very interesting into why she identifies as black. Yeah. And she's gone through a lot of trauma with her white parents. Now, her brothers and sisters have always been, she's had the biological brothers and sisters, obviously, are white, but she's got foster brothers and sisters as well, innit? Okay. So she always basically wanted to diss associate with the white side because of the abuse that she had went through and whatnot.
Okay.
Well, allegedly that she claims.
Yeah.
So when Vicky was like, no, we've got to talk about blackfish. And I was like, all right, cool. So I did some research. And I'm like, there's people fully on Instagram, you know, young white girls who are literally like from Sweden, you know, Eastern European countries. And they're basically fully dressing up as black. And they're getting paid, obviously, by Instagram because of the views and the, you know, the videos and whatnot to be models.
Yeah.
So I was just like, raw. And then we spoke about that, which is very interesting that we always want to, you know, you get with some white people, they always want to take the good stuff from black culture, the music, you know, the food, the identity, the looks, the everything. Yeah. But then they never want to associate themselves with the, you know, the bad stuff, the dysfunction that they have caused.
That's it, yeah.
You know, one's there to us. Obviously,
Sneaky,
it hasn't solely just been them, but, you know.
So sneaky, isn't it?
So sneaky,
I can't believe it,
So
honestly.
when I looked into that, I was just thinking, okay, cool. And then I went deep into why race was constructed. I spoke about the Spanish Inquisition and so on and so forth. So
you
but
went in with that series, man. I really enjoyed that series. I mean, and I think there was one episode as well talking about like what the council's doing to different people, and
yeah.
That was a really, really good series. So, guys, we'll have the. Are you gonna? Do you have like a playlist on your YouTube?
Yeah, I've got a playlist. Yeah,
on YouTube,
Definition
so
Podcast. You go on there. Yeah,
so
literally.
of course, guys, we'll have the podcast in the show notes, and what I do is I make sure that the whole entire playlist, once Jesse has done it, will be available for you guys to go out and check out.
That's cool, man.
Awesome.
It's cool.
So yeah, that's the Definition Podcast, guys. And then you mentioned Netflix earlier on, and I think I'm gonna use that as a segue to talk about our next part of the show today. Is is podcasting the new Netflix? Is the new YouTube? I mean, something crazy is happening with content. Content is really king, isn't it, Jesse? Do you think content is really king?
100%.
I mean, what's happened? I mean, Joe Rogan. We'll get into Spotify and Apple, but when you look at Netflix, they're doing big deals. Harry and Meghan, apparently, they've signed a $75 million deal on Netflix.
Harry and Meghan. Hold on. When you say Harry,
yeah.
I don't know if he's the ex-prince or whatever, or still the prince and duke of Dutch.
I don't even know.
I don't know how titles work.
Moves. I mean, I saw this on a couple of newspapers.
That's crazy.
I hope this is still true.
Oh yeah, Michelle Obama as well, isn't it? Has got a podcast deal.
Yeah, Michelle Obama's got a podcast deal, exclusive to Spotify, and Oprah now has got a deal with Apple, exclusive to Apple. I don't know when that's launching. I don't know what their money they're gonna get. But you see, Spotify now, they're doing something interesting, right? They're bringing all these big name people who already have a huge library or have a huge following. So again, Kim Kardashian, I think that's another one on the roster. DC Comics, DC and Marvel Comics are gonna now have their own kind of podcast on Spotify as well. So Spotify, they're throwing everything at it. You know, after buying Anchor for $150 billion,
they bought
they bought their own. Spotify own Anchor, they own couple other media companies, and then they own the Bill Simmons podcast, which is like a really cool podcast about I think basketball, NBA, etc.
Wow.
Yeah.
You see, this is the thing, yeah. Now I was watching Craig Mitch, right, on the Chucky podcast, the Halfcast podcast, right, with Poet, and he was talking about the whole, you know,
Poet's Corner guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, basically, he was talking about the whole Spotify deal with Joe. And he made some very interesting points. And I watched again the Joe Budden podcast episode on YouTube, which is like an hour and something long.
Yeah.
And he made some very funny and interesting points. And what you're seeing here is that, yes, they are, in a sense, the new Netflix. Because what's happening now is that people's attention span is turning more to online. So I couldn't tell you the last time I switched on my TV to watch general TV.
True.
I've never, do you know what I'm saying? Like, unless it's like, you know, like my mum and someone watching like the BBC One update of COVID or whatever. And even then I don't watch that. I just happen to walk in the room.
Yeah.
It's always Netflix, Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Or it's always, I don't know, YouTube or whatever. I may cast a video onto YouTube. So what I'm seeing is that Joe Biden made a point in his podcast saying that, look, Spotify basically has secretly, in his own words, pillaged his audience, yeah?
Yeah.
And I said, hold on. Is it that they want the big stars on there because they like their content, or is it because they're trying to grow such a huge audience that can rival the music industry?
I think that's a good point. I think that's what's happening. because
do you see where I'm coming from? Because it's, if you look at Joe Rogan's deal, from what I remember, what article, I can't remember what article I read, but they were talking about basically it's just the licensing, I think it is, for his podcast they've had. So they asked him to get, can we hold the whole entire content and licensing for 3 years on our platform?
Yeah.
We'll give you all of this, studio, mic, set up, everything.
Yeah.
And he's like, cool, 100 mil, like, which is like 85 million pounds. Why not? You know what I'm saying? Like, easy money. I'm going to do that. And if you look at the Joe Rogan podcast, which is the biggest podcast in the world currently at the moment, I think he was making like, 150K a month on YouTube alone, just from the Joe Rogan clips. I don't think it was even the Joe Rogan podcast. Yeah.
150 downloads, 150 million downloads a month. It's crazy.
That's crazy. So he was basically looking at the whole situation there.
Yeah.
I was like, Joe Rogan, then you've got Joe Budden, who was number 1 on Spotify. In fact, they actually broke Spotify's website when they uploaded their first episode.
Wow. Yeah, he's the most searched podcast episode on Spotify.
On Spotify,
well.
yeah.
But here it is. This is interesting, right? Michelle Obama, when her podcast was announced on Spotify, people start to search for it hard on Apple Podcast. But it's not an Apple Podcast. It's exclusive to Spotify. But then one of my friends, shout out to Shady if you're listening, she's got a podcast called We Seal Genesis. It's a faith-based podcast, I think more kind of Christianity, but her nickname is Michelle Obama 2.0. So she managed to kind of attract 65,000 listeners to the podcast. Yeah, so it's crazy. It just shows you how the traffic that different celebrities or powerful figures can give you on different podcasts and platforms. 100%. And I think Apple's going to lose out big time.
Well, that was their whole... It wasn't Spotify, wasn't an issue with Spotify and Apple, where Spotify was getting robbed for years, apparently, when they were on Apple. So I think what's happened is that now you've learned how much you can make from being robbed. Now you're going to basically rob others. You know what I was there?
Yeah.
And looking at the Joe Rogans, I remember calling you. I was like, bro, like 100 mil.
Yeah, 100 mil.
Like, this has changed the whole podcasting game. Like,
you know what? Once I heard that deal, I was like, if you're not podcasting now, you need to get into podcasting now. If you have a business, if you have a personal brand, whatever it is, if you're a gardener, whatever it is that you do and you do it well, something that you can have a niche around or build an audience around or build an authority around, start podcasting, because if you don't, you're going to get left behind. It's going to be another YouTube. It's another YouTube, basically.
No, trust.
It's another YouTube. It's another Netflix. It's another opportunity.
Look at JD. You got JD, who's also got... See, Chucky, I like Chucky and Poet a lot. I follow their stuff, Savage Dan,
the
as well.
JD Sports one.
JD Sports, yeah. Poet's got the Filthy Fellas as well. Yeah. And I've realised, because I remember these guys were doing stuff like, 5 years ago, I remember they started doing this stuff. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. But, you kind of sleep on it because it's just online, there's YouTube, and you're thinking, it's just another... But really, they've actually built a creative underground UK scene when it comes to podcasting. So now it's that peak here where I'm speaking to one of my friends about a situation. She goes, I'll just find out on so-and-so's podcast. I'm like, you're not even going to go online and check. Yeah, okay. She's going to wait for the podcast episode to come out so she can find the information. So,
and it's true, because if you search for certain terms, right, sometimes some podcasts come up. Like, for example, I think I was searching for I ran a few keywords on podcast. I think on the podcast search, I saw my podcast come up, which is quite interesting. But then, I also searched Young Ghanaian Professionals, which is a podcast I did, on season 1, number 3, right? When you search Young Ghanaian Professionals, I think my podcast comes up on Google page 1, on the Google search results page 1. So slowly, what's going to happen is, what you're going to see is when people are searching for certain things, searching keywords, searching certain terms, you're not just going to see links, website links, images, YouTube links. You're also going to start to see podcast links as well.
Podcast links, yeah.
So if anything, it becomes another indexed like page or link for people to go and explore.
Yeah, no, you know what? It's crazy, man. And I feel like now, even with myself, I said that's it. Every single conversation I'm having where I'm going to be talking about some of these subjects or any, I'm going to push it, via Instagram, via Facebook, all these other, but mainly YouTube. We're on Anchor already. Anchor's obviously got 7 other different platforms as well. I think Google Podcast is on there. what else is on Anchor? Spotify as well.
Yeah, Spotify is definitely an Anchor.
Yeah.
Because they own it, yeah.
Literally, I see it. But it makes sense because I didn't realize when I saw that, I was thinking, okay, because Anchor did send me an email saying about, hey, we're going to bring this monetizing system to the UK. So they've got it in the US already, so you can actually make money from your downloads and streams and whatnot. But
how does that come in? Let's talk about monetization, podcast monetization. But how does that work? Because I know Spotify, I think they're one of the only, apart from specialized podcast monetization platforms, we won't get into that today, they make money through they put Spotify ads between podcasts. Even those that have Spotify Premium, they have to listen to ads. Some kind of ads, and people can also buy ads on Spotify and put their own ads on there. You understand? And upload their own ads as well. So it works in different ways. Spotify can play their own ads, and people can plug their own ads, and people make money. So even Joe Rogan, right? Let me land on this one. Even Joe Rogan, even if to access his podcast, you don't even need Spotify Premium. You just need the free Spotify account, because every listen that you have on Joe Rogan's podcast on Spotify, they're going to make money off it anyway, because they can play ads. You understand?
Okay.
So I think a portion of that could come to creators. So I'm trying to understand, like, how would it work for Anchor?
For Anchor, I think it was, if I can remember correctly, it was just basically the amount of listens and downloads you get. I don't know if they have certain, because they didn't really go into depth with the UK version. They kind of briefly said in the US this is what they're doing. Even if you go into your Anchor profile now, for those who got Anchor, podcast, it will have like a wallet section.
Okay.
So I'm assuming they're going to do the same thing as YouTube, where I think YouTube is like after a certain amount of subscribers, and I think it's 4,000 watch minutes or something like that.
Okay.
Or hours, I think.
Yeah.
You basically start to get a penny or a pound per whatever. I don't know how it works.
Okay.
But it makes sense with Spotify how they make money now, because they don't actually have to pay out those big names for the streams. Yeah. So they could offer you 100 million.
Yeah.
But from streaming, they can probably generate
a lot more than that.
600 million or something like that. Do you see where I'm coming from?
It's going to look cheap. That Joe Rogan deal is going to look cheap. I heard Joe Biden asked for 250 million though.
Because basically what happened
he's just basically saying I'm better than Joe Rogan. I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I mean, he's good, but I don't know about that.
The problem is with him.
Yeah.
He basically said he wants, because obviously they offered him a new deal. Yeah. The new deal was 9 figures, so it probably was anywhere near the 100 mils, maybe just.
It probably was at least 100 million.
100
million, it had to be at least 100 million if it's 9 figures, right?
Sure. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So
probably, he wanted more than that.
He wanted more than that because basically in the new deal, apparently they own everything.
Everything. What do you mean?
So basically, his pull-up episodes on YouTube, they own that. They wanted to have Rory when Rory does his own music.
Okay, because Rory's one of the.
Rory's the white guy, yeah. So basically, I think there's 4 of them as the camera guys as well, and other stuff. But they basically have like other stuff going on outside. Yeah. So Mal as well. Maul. Is it Maul or Mal? I keep getting mixed up. But anyway, all the stuff that he does, they want to own everything. Yeah. And he was like, "You already own our audience. Like, you know what's there? Like, we're asking to." Take Christmas off. You lot are saying no. And although for real, you could kind of argue that and say, well, because he was saying in his episode that like everything was brand new. Like the deal they negotiated with him was brand new. So no one kind of knew what they were doing. Mm-hmm. So obviously, and this is important for creators as well. You need to remember when you're getting a deal, like we've heard the story so much times. We've seen it with Straight Outta Compton, with Dr. Dre, all these other different people with Death Row and that kind of stuff.
All right.
We need to look at the deal that we're signing.
Yeah, and I remember you talked about.
Remember, I said to you,
you're gonna spend like a year reading the contract.
I'll spend a year. If I have to spend a year reading the contract and Google every word that sounds fancy, because what you're gonna find is that your hard work that you work for will just get taken. Yeah, because Spotify don't really care about your content; they care about how they can monetize your content. So if they can take your audience, think about this way, yeah. With Spotify,
I mean, it's not. I mean, it's only fair, right? I mean, it has to be profitable worthwhile for them. Otherwise,
bro, that's
so
business.
People can't really complain. So I feel like when people like Joe Budden complain, saying, you treat me like a slave, whatever. I understand where he's coming from, because maybe they can make 9 times what they're paying him. But at the end of the day, if you read the contract, you agree it, and you put out the content, and you're still getting paid a lot more than even some of these music artists. But for me, you have to work harder. You just have to get to a mic and talk. That's it.
You know, one's there, bro. And it's
That's
like
the easiest money ever.
he was in the music industry.
I know, right? Okay, so
he
he
was
knows
signed
it.
he was signed to Aftermath,
Def
Jam as well.
Right? Yeah, was he signed to Aftermath?
He was. I swear
Joe
he was.
Budden?
Slaughterhouse. Part of Slaughterhouse was signed to Aftermath.
Oh, is it? Does that come under? Is it a subsidiary? Was it a subsidiary of Aftermath?
Sorry, not Aftermath. Sorry, Shady Records.
Shady Records. Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah,
I don't
not
think it was
Aftermath.
under
Shady Records.
That's Eminem's label. Okay.
So Eminem's label was signed to that, and it's like for me, I'm thinking, bro, you've been in the music industry where you've been ripped off so many times. How would you not go into this deal, especially a brand new? Like, imagine Spotify's coming to you and say, hey, like, you know, your Sound of Accra, we ain't never had nothing like this, and you know, you're gonna be thinking, okay, let's just take this back to the drawing board. I want to see what I can get as well, because they're not only gonna look out. There's no emotion in this. Yeah, you see where I'm coming from. So I was a bit surprised with that, but I get where he's coming from to an extent. But again, like, obviously Charlemagne was going at him saying, look, bro, just negotiate better, innit?
That's it, yeah.
You get me? And he's also done a big deal as well.
Charlemagne?
Yeah, I think it was with, is it iHeartRadio?
iHeartRadio, yeah.
One of them he's partnered with, but basically he owns 50% of his podcast network.
Wow.
50% of it. So a lot of people are getting at him saying, well, you don't own 100%, but I think people need to...
Well, he owns 50% of iHeartRadio.
Well, I don't know if it's iHeartRadio.
Because that's a massive... distribution.
This is the thing. So whoever network deal he signed with, he owns 50% of his actual podcast on there.
Wow.
So again, like with Joe Budden's issue, I don't know where the ownership comes into it. I know Joe Budden may own obviously the content and whatnot, but the audience near enough is gone. It's gone. So for me, I'll just try and work with Spotify again if I can renegotiate something better or just start a new venture. But podcasting, from what I'm seeing now, I'm like, all right, cool. It's about the audience.
Yeah.
Content is good. Yeah. But really, it's about your audience. So
it's about the audience, yeah.
You see where I'm coming from.
It's the numbers.
You know, don't sign. Yeah. if you don't want your audience to be taken, and even if you still want to sign, then negotiate. Tell them, look, don't be afraid to say, hey, look, I want this.
Yeah.
You know, you want my audience, cool.
Yeah.
Like you've got a very unique audience as well, because I haven't heard that many podcasts. Honestly, see, like with Sound of Accra, I haven't heard that many podcasts that involve that many diasporans.
Yeah.
Alongside with, you know, the ones there like with Accra and the stuff that are going on, because there's a very broad amount of people on your podcast.
Yeah.
Like from different industries. So I'm just like, that would be very, so, you know, watch out.
Yeah.
watch out. Spotify's coming, man.
Gotta watch out, man.
Yeah, trust me.
Yeah, but it's an interesting industry right now, podcasting, and is I think it's here to stay, definitely, because obviously more and more people are listening to podcasts, and I think the lockdown. Do you think the lockdown has accelerated the rise of podcasting, and especially video podcasting as well?
100%, because what happened with lockdown? Yeah, lockdown came, coronavirus came. You know, everyone thought it was the second coming. or you know, Lucifer rising or whatever, and some people's situations. But really what it was a time for everyone to stop. Yeah. Think about what you are really doing in life. And now, even the big major record labels, even the big media companies have realized and said, you know what? Throughout the whole of lockdown, 3 months, we've had all this stuff happen online. And if we're not really monetizing off this stuff online, then when the borders and everything does open up and go back to normal, we're going to fail. True. There's been a rise in AI technology. And with creating now, like I said, I even did a IG live with shout out to Wayne Riley Art. Okay. We did an IG live on, you know, why content right now is going to last 1,000 years. Wow. When you look at the ancient Egyptians, you know, I always go into my history. We look at the ancient Kemites or Egyptians, you go back and you're thinking to yourself, they did this 6,000 years ago. And they were so creative with it that, you know, there's not a tomb or a place you can go to in Egypt where there's not, you know, Medu Neter, or what they may call hieroglyphics, the Greeks call hieroglyphics, on the wall that symbolizes a scenario or a scene, you know, and they wrote so much content that they knew we would need later on. Because one thing you have to understand with great nations, there's always going to be a fall and rise. You're not going to be, the balance between life and death is the same balance between greatness and you know, and just non-greatness. You could be good for 1,000 years, you're gonna fall. That's just how the balance works. So it's always good to innovate new ways with the newer generation, so you can get to a point where you get to that point where if you're at top, okay, cool. If you're on the top, fair enough. Yeah, depends what you're doing. But with how you treat the next generation is how the future is going to be for your entire organization, country, race, whatever you want to talk about. So I feel like with lockdown, it definitely stemmed a creative spark in myself. A lot of the creative I speak to as well. Definitely getting stuff on YouTube. You can already see with YouTube now that, especially with the what's my man's name, Brian Rose from London Real.
Yeah, oh, that guy. Yeah,
yeah, that guy. You can see with him.
Yeah.
Having the David Icke interview.
Oh my gosh, he did like 1 million times, man.
Like literally, like he had like what I think 6 parts or something like that.
Six, yeah. He just keeps bringing them on. It's like every month.
You know what's there? Like every month he's on there.
He just gives you a coronavirus update, basically.
Basically, yeah, literally, it's basically the update. But it's like he's on there, and basically what's happened is that you're seeing obviously YouTube not liking what he's doing, taking down his content, and he's gone on his own personal streaming site.
Okay.
On London Real and raised what was it, £1 million? I think it was like £1 million.
More than he just keeps raising. He just keeps it going, and some people are suspecting that he's just kind of making this whole thing up just to make money of everyone. It's debatable. It's debatable because some people have put together some evidence and theories and stuff. It's debatable. I'm on the fence about it.
So, yeah, well, for me, with that stuff there, what you're gonna find is you're gonna find people that don't want it to happen. Yeah, and will always be suspicious because they can't believe it's happening. Yeah. And then people that actually are trying their best to, because I know YouTube could do that. Yeah. What I'm learning right now, even with Joe Budden, he's leaving Spotify. I mean, the way he did that episode, to be honest, he kind of went ham on Spotify. I can't lie. But all of a sudden, you're getting all these allegations of him, beating up his ex-girlfriends and some crazy stuff with his dogs. And I'm thinking, where's all this coming from? But it could be. I'm not saying it is, but it could be Spotify dismantling the character of Joe Budden. Could be. I'm not saying it is, but it all depends. Now, interesting. Lockdown, it bred a new generation of creatives. That's what it did. So coronavirus could hit you.
I like that. I did this last night, but I'm doing this again.
You know what's there? Like, but it's just like, you ain't working, you ain't going out raving, you ain't partying. Yeah. You probably broke up with girlfriends or whatever, and you're spending more time with family. So you got to think to yourself, what are you really doing? If you're able to work from home now, I mean, you got more time. It opens up more options and time for you. Like just one more thing,
Go for it.
A shout out to all them YouTube, Vanessa Camby, Wode Maya.
This is too funny.
Yeah, Champong's family. Yeah. Who else? There's so much people.
Wesley.
Callum Wesley as well.
South African guy. Yeah.
Bro, I
tried to get him on my podcast, man. He hasn't responded, man. But it's fine because I found out that he's trying to do his own. So okay, cool. Cool. Let me just own Accra, which I do right now because I'm in top on Accra right now. So,
that's it.
Yeah.
Did you see where I'm coming from? Yeah. And what happened? We've got Ghana did the Year of Return. Now we've got the Year of Return and Beyond.
Beyond the Return.
And
did you see the trailer for that? I think they dropped the trailer last night for that.
No, I haven't seen that. No,
on the YouTube channel. I'll try and find it.
Yeah, I need to check it out. Yeah,
yeah.
But this is what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Think about what's going on. Especially besides Wode Maya. I mean, would you call Wode Maya diasporan although he lived in China? I wouldn't think, not really, yeah. Because he was natively born in Ghana and he's grew up in Ghana for a while.
He's still got the accent, man. So he's still got the Ghanaian accent.
He's still got the accent.
So I wouldn't really class him as a diaspora. I was studying him as like a study abroad kind of.
Right, study abroad, yeah. Do you know what's there, fam? So if you look at him now, but besides him, Vanessa Camby, all the rest of them, you look at him and think to yourself, this is it. This is now, you're going to see a new wave of media.
100%.
Filming Ghana.
Owned media.
Oh, right.
Owned media versus paid media. So paid media is the Apple, the Spotify's. Here's your 100 million, here's your 10 million. Give us your whole Beatles library, and then, we will run your content. Versus a Joe Budden Rebel, I'm going to walk away from Spotify and I don't know what I'm going to do next, but I'm not going to go with you because you're not paying me 250 million. And I'm going to do my own thing and, make more money. Be a Brian Rose and just kind of raise, let my fans or let my audience fund me, which is where, again, going back to monetization, I think that with podcasting and other platforms, maybe even YouTube, you're now starting to see a lot more push on, the Patreons, affiliate marketing, sponsorships, partnerships. Those are other streams of revenue that a lot of people are leaving on the table that they can easily affiliate with. So
this is the thing.
Yeah. So
trust, bro. And it's like I've learned that. I'm sat back and I said, lockdown showed me this.
Yeah.
This is what I need to do.
Awesome.
So
awesome.
Trust me.
And what's next for the Definition Podcast? What's the future, or is that going to have to find out and see? Wait and see. Yeah?
We've got some. We're not stopping.
Okay.
We've got some episodes coming out. How Was It Served Us series is. I've got a new episode probably coming out next week.
Okay.
Currently, we've got the latest episode, which is how do I identify why the world sees me as black, and we're basically talking about black fishing. Another question is, are we over colorism? In there as well, we speak about colorism, and also we talk about, self-love and self-care, because I find that what happens with a lot of these situations, these conversations, is that it always boils down to the individual. I've got many mixed race friends. I see them as black. The mixed race thing for me, the amount of research I've done with Dr. Francis Cress Wilson on the ISIS papers, Dr. Michael Bradley on the Iceman inheritance, just even genetics and in general with like the whole genotypes and whatnot.
Yeah.
And even if you go to every indigenous country in the world, every single one, near enough, the indigenous people were black or dark skinned. Yeah. So race is a construct. You see where I'm coming from? Like, we can't really be saying like, okay, cool, well, she's got half Portuguese, half whatever, but she looks black, but she's mixed. I see them as black personally. Now, if the individual chooses to identify as that, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But I encourage people in that episode, I said, in that episode, everyone go and do like an ancestral test.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's more about identity and whatnot on the Definition Podcast at the Motive. Make sure you subscribe as well. Our Instagram is at Definition Podcast. And we've got some more stuff coming as well. It's hard because I'm working with people, so I can't say.
That's okay. That's okay, man. I appreciate it, man. I mean, I think you've given us a taster, and obviously we've talked about what you've done previously, and I think people can kind of have a good guess on what's coming next. Jesse, thanks for coming back on the show, man.
It's cool, bro, man. It's cool. It was a pleasure.
Well, yeah. And anything else in the pipeline? Any final announcements you want to make to the audience? Any final words?
You know what? Stay creative. Definition Podcast is for the thinkers and those who choose to think. Join the conversation. We're always open to hear and discuss tough topics to also find meaning. And with new Motive World of Creativity, you're going to see a lot more coming as well in general. And yeah, man, stay creative. That's all I can say.
Stay creative.
There's going to be a time when you can't.
Tis be the season to be creative.
100%, man.
And I think that pretty much sums up everything that we've kind of discussed today.
Cool.
Thanks again for coming on the show, man.
No worries, bro. Oh, yeah. Touch.
We can't do this handshake.
Yeah, I know. COVID, innit? Yeah, man.
Okay, guys. Just as I mentioned before, you can find all the show notes for today's episode by going to the soundofacra.com. That's the soundofacra.com. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you at the next one. Thank you. Hey, guys. I hope you really enjoyed that episode. If you're watching on YouTube, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. If you're listening on the podcast platforms, be sure to leave us a review. Thank you so much for listening to The Sound of Accra. See you next time. Bye-bye.